Here it is slower. This is an example of how you can take two chords, in this case an A minor and an E7 chord, and get a little creative with how you might vamp between the two. In this case, I'm using a walking bass line, and then ultimately a walking bass line against a melody, which creates a nice two-voice structure. So you're starting out just going between the two chords. Then from there, you start adding the melodic content. And of course, as you follow the bass line and the voice leading and let it take you where it needs to go, then of course you're going to have to get yourself out of the standard chord shapes, but that's all part of the fun. Here it is slower. This is an example of a cross-string riff, and what I mean by that, it's a combination of using open strings as well as fretted strings and some slurs to create a nice fluid scalar passage. And in this case, we're going to be operating in the key of A minor. So we open up with the descending slur, open string, and of course I should mention the bass notes too. We have an A and an E, which are just really acting like pedal tones to keep everything together. I should also mention that when we're operating down here and close to the first position, you want to connect those notes as best as possible. So really let those open strings ring as long as they can before you terminate them with the appropriate fretted notes. And here it is even slower. This lick is what I call a floating arpeggio pattern, and one thing that I've done is I've applied this capo at the 4th fret, but I'm only covering strings 2 through 6 and leaving that first string open. It's in standard tuning. It's just a very easy way to sort of expand the palette of what we know as standard tuning. So this pattern is just a simple PPIM arpeggio pattern. All the melodic content is really landing on the An of 4, and those also these melody notes rather, serve as good transition points from chord shape to chord shape. So let that ring, let that ring, and this, and then all of these lush sort of contrasting notes are just floating above. Let everything ring out as much as possible. Here it is a little slower. This lick is an example of a smooth chord comparable to like a B3 organ, kind of like we find like in a jazz combo. And the way it exists now, or how I've played it for you, it's just a simple movement, kind of bass against inner melody. And it'd be your job just to lay it down smooth and groovy. You could play it with somebody else and give them a nice foundation to solo over the top. And then as you get more comfortable with it, you could take it and start adding some melodic fragments of your own. So just get into it and have fun with it. Here it is a little slower. This lick is a nice introduction to the two-handed tapping technique on the guitar. And in this particular exercise, what I'm doing is just creating these repeating ostinato patterns with the left hand. And then the right hand comes in and either plucks notes or, in case of the final figure, hammers on the bass notes to change the harmony. So as you're working on this, just make sure that you maintain a nice steady rhythm. Really work on your slurs so they're clear and articulate, as well as the right hand slurs, so everything comes through nice and clear and sounds good.